And greetings. Happy Tuesday. Welcome to the Steve Deace Show here, live and on demand. But let's face it, not really all that much in demand, if we're being honest.
After yesterday? I mean, is it all intimidating to come back after the greatest day in broadcasting history?
If that's the case...
And then you had to go and ruin it all by pointing out Costco has their Christmas stuff out.
They do, man. Was there yesterday. We're in there to get my wife's birthday cake for tomorrow.
Oh, happy birthday, Amy.
Yep, her birthday's tomorrow. And went in there to get her birthday cake. And I saw all the Christmas stuff, man. I had to light you guys up for the most wonderful time of the year. Costco knows what time it is. There's a lot of talk these days. Do you know what time it is?
It's August.
Costco knows. Costco knows it's 120 days away. They know. That's it. Just a mere 120 days away until Christmas. I am Steve Deace. He's Todd Erzin. He's Aaron McIntyre. We did get a lot of feedback on yesterday's show. I mean, a ton. I would say 97% was one of the best shows you guys have ever done. Certainly one of the funniest. 3% were people upset that we weren't taking this more seriously.
Dear
God. Yes.
I went into last weekend more internalized and more confident than ever before that Twitter is not real life. The degree to which that stupid trope about the mugshot and the black vote, that just almost broke me.
Yeah, I think it's because in this case, a lot of conservative media took that off of Twitter and to their platforms.
Yeah.
Okay. I just, first of all, I just think it's borderline racist. It is. I'm sorry to just assume that you can reach a race of the population on the basis of the fact you've had somebody arrested. What you're essentially saying is that you have to be a criminal to reach black people. I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's just pretty racist to me, number one.
No, Biden is the one who said if you vote for Trump, you ain't really black. So this is the reverse of it.
This is the reverse of it. Yeah, I mean, Trump's a criminal. And so since apparently a lot of black people are criminals, they should be now voting for Trump. First of all, Trump's not a criminal, and a lot of black people aren't criminals. It is true that a disproportionate amount of people who are charged with crimes are black, but that's because they're guilty of crimes. I don't accept that premise either. The premise that, well, if there's this much more of a race in prison than other races, then that just automatically must mean the system is racist. It probably just automatically means that more of those people committed crimes for various reasons. And a lot of it actually is because the system is racist, just not the system that you think. It's because you have a community that for 60 years has voted for a system that has kept them confined socioeconomically into multi-generational poverty and dysfunction. And unfortunately, that has led to what's the latest number? 75% of black children in America now are born without a dad in the home. I mean, I go back to what the late, great Chuck Colson told me years ago before he passed away. After decades of doing prison ministry, the one commonality, regardless of socioeconomic status, race, creed, religion, is if you were a violent offender in prison for committing a violent offense, and I asked you who your dad was, almost every time, either I don't know or my dad is also in prison for committing some sort of serious felony. So it just, but that trope just penetrated because what we talked about yesterday, this is the number one content item. Patriotic boomer whites who are rightly tired of being accused for decades falsely of being racists. This is the number one kind of content they have long wanted to consume on the right. I think I saw someone did the math. Trump would have to win to get 20% of the black vote, which is what the either it's a Fox poll or a poll Fox is promoting. He'd have to win 30% of black men and 14% of black women in order to get 20% of the black vote. The Republican has not gotten 20% of the black vote, by the way, since Thomas Dewey. That's the last time that happened. He actually got more than that, but Harry Truman became the first Democrat ever to get a plurality of black voters, and that's how he pulled that massive Dewey beats Truman upset in that election. And that began the slow migration that was cemented in 1964 with the Great Society. Began the slow migration of black voters from the Republican Party post Civil War Reconstruction into the Democratic Party as we've seen today. And why are we still talking about this? Because Aaron brought it up.
Sorry.
Yeah. We're just not even going to address this anymore. Unless it's just an obvious grift, we're just not even going to
Let's go back to the 3% who think we're totally unserious.
Yes.
I'm sure they gave you all the examples, Steve, of like the skulls of their enemies that they've collected against the woke.
They're buying T-shirts. And by the way, I have no problem with buying the T-shirts. They're going to need all the help they can get. They're going to need all the legal defense money they can get. So I don't have a problem with that. I hope you guys sell out all the T-shirts. Actually, they need help. And I hope Trump actually starts spreading that money around rather than just keeping it for himself. But understand that may be a defiant statement, might even be a collector's item one day if we have a society long enough for such things to develop. But that's not meaningfully fighting back in any way. And we just don't have time right now. I know it seems like it to many of us, because we live comfortably. So it just doesn't, the sense of urgency just doesn't seem like it's there, but it is. I mean, we are watching the assassination of a former president, of an opposition leader. You are watching it right now play out. A literal assassination attempt. It's just being done 21st century style. It's being done the modern way. And our answer is merch. So, Steve, what should we do? Well, here's what you need to do. Impeaching Biden won't do anything to stop the lawfare, although I'm in favor of it on sheer principle. But you actually need, and finally, a couple of Republicans now have yesterday did actually put in the budget bill that they're going to fight over here in the next 40 days, a defund of DOJ. So some people are at least doing this on Capitol Hill. So good for them. But you need to have a literal government shutdown fight over this issue. You have to take your case to the American people and show them that this weaponization of the DOJ is un-American. We don't want it. We don't want to set these kinds of precedents, and make that case to the American people. And there's a couple of members of Congress now that are suggesting this. No member of leadership is. I mean, I listened to Kevin McCarthy lay out his grounds for impeachment. Now, understand everything we know about the Bidens, right? And Kevin McCarthy's grounds for impeachment currently are, we requested some documents, and if they don't honor the subpoena, then we'll have an impeachment inquiry. That'll light a fire into the American people, right? That the American people so we're doing nothing in government over a document fight. You know what I'm saying? I mean, just.
And furthermore, this link between Trump and McCarthy just begs all the same questions again about all the best people. This is your guy.
Yeah,
this is the obvious play.
McCarthy is speaker because of Trump.
You won't make this play now. Why are we going to believe? And I just showed you how Charlie Kirk yesterday said this won't be the same as last time. He will go after him. Give me the evidence that they will go after him if Trump is elected. Give it to me.
A very well-qualified attorney of President Trump's ran and challenged Romney McDaniel for RNC chair this winter. Trump backed Ronna instead. Didn't back Harmeet Dillon. Think having an attorney with a lot of litigation experience who might be able to plan ahead and plot in advance what's coming. Having such a person as head of the RNC, think that could be a valuable asset right about now?
Ask Jenna Ellis.
Yeah, I think that could be a valuable asset right about now. But no, he kept Ronna in there instead. So this is where we are. So you need to defund DOJ at the federal level. And then at the state level, if you are a red state attorney general, or if you are a red DA, if Hunter Biden stopped to take a leak in your city or your state once, you ought to be doing all-out lawfare against the Bidens. Now, I hate saying things like this, and I hate that it's come to this, but the social compact, like I said in the Glenn Beck podcast this weekend, we're going to talk about that in the overtime today, the social compact is broken. We are not an e pluribus unum anymore. And so without the social compact, without the better angels of our nature saying, I don't want to do that to my neighbor, even if we disagree, we might have completely opposite signs in our yard each election cycle, but you're my neighbor, and we're both Americans, and I don't want... That's gone now. It's gone. And so, like somebody asked me today, well, what if we can't get Republicans to do that? What's the next step? There is no next step. There is no next step. Antietam. Antietam is the next step. And a lot of very wealthy people who live in compounds and houses a lot nicer than me that have been tweeting out Civil War in all caps for the last few months are going to get their wish. Except it won't be us fighting. It'll be our kids and our grandkids. That's what you're going to have to do. You have to create mutually assured destruction now. They have to be shown, if you do this now, we will punish you the same and de-incentivize it. Right now, that's not occurring. Right now, we're going to have it in... Trump's a Russian traitor, Russian asset. He was compromised with Russian hookers because of a P-tape, and we're impeaching him for that. You're represented by people coming back with, well, if the Bidens don't honor the documents request, we're going and the subpoena. We're gonna. Yes, we've got videos of him literally doing cocaine off Russian hookers' asses, but we're gonna go on. They're gonna base our impeachment inquiry on the document subpoena. I mean, that won't work. So either we start. That's one of the reasons why I like the guy that is a rhino now, apparently, for some of you. Why? Because over 20 people in Florida drained, gone. Why were their elections fine in Florida? Well, because he took over and realized Broward County is run by a corruptocrat, got rid of her. That's why. We either get people elected who will wield power, or we're heading to Antietam, because the other side won't be stopped by your memes or your merch, and they don't care. They're laughing at us, actually. Laughing. Brian Kemp comes in, and it's not even a story now. Brian Kemp comes in and says, no, we're not doing the Fulton County trial of Trump before the election. Okay. So they just schedule the January 6th trial, the exact date before Super Tuesday that the Fulton County trial of Trump was going to be. Are you paying attention? Do we understand what is happening here? Nothing will stop force except an equal or more potent show of force. That will be it. So fine, okay, you guys want lawfare? We'll give it to you. But how many people are talking like this? Buy a shirt. Vote Trump. I actually agree with all of the Trump talking points on this. All of them. That's exactly why I'm saying the things that I'm saying right now. I would like them to agree. Instead, they're doing things like Matt Gaetz and Byron Donalds not tweeting or talking about the hurricane, or finding a way to do so where they don't actually mention or coordinate with the governor's office whatsoever, because we can't make DeSantis look good. Are you freaking kidding me? That's what we're doing here.
Of course.
We're up against people trying to assassinate Donald Trump, and we got people that can't set that aside for 48 hours, a stupid primary, because people's lives are at stake? That's not serious. And so, no, for you 3%ers, I don't regret laughing at you at all. I regret I didn't laugh more. And I regret I haven't laughed more often. So laugh more often I shall. If we're not serious and it's all Chuckle Hut and it's all for clicks, then I am going to I've got a belly that'll shake like a bowl of jelly. I'm going to laugh so hard. Another Christmas reference for you there, Todd.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Coming up on the show today, a lot of you have been clamoring for us to talk about Tucker and Trump. Today we will. We'll be joined by my oldest daughter later. We raised about $50,000 out of this audience for an attempt at a landmark case against COVIDstan, which tried to kill a very good friend of mine and a decorated Marine. He will join us for an update on that case here at the bottom of the hour. But before we get to all of that, here's Aaron's rundown of what happened while we were away.
What happened while we were away, brought to you by Random Fun Facts. This is Florida's 1st congressional district. It's represented by Matt Gaetz, who has endorsed Donald Trump. Florida's 1st congressional district is on the west coast of that state. This is Florida's 19th congressional district. It's represented by Byron Donalds, who has endorsed Donald Trump. Florida's 19th congressional district is on the west coast of that state. Hurricane Idalia is currently projected to slam Florida's west coast as a Category 3 hurricane on Wednesday. Between the two congressmen, there is a total of one tweet warning their constituents about the incoming hurricane. Again, just some random fun facts on a fun Tuesday. By the way, here was Governor Ron DeSantis' schedule yesterday. You're seeing 19 items on the schedule before noon. And here was Donald Trump's schedule yesterday. So that's cool. Newly surfaced video emerged of a 2003 presidential town hall tour on college campuses that MSNBC did. This particular one was with then presidential candidate Al Sharpton. And boy, howdy, look who showed up.
And my question for you is, of all the Democratic candidates out there, why should I vote for the one with the least political experience?
Well, you shouldn't, because I have the most political experience.
Now, that's funny, but that was almost 20 years ago, so it's maybe not fair to use that against him. But then look who else showed up on that very same MSNBC college campus tour.
Congressman, why are you the only presidential candidate not attending tomorrow's youth-oriented Rock the Vote Forum? And do you think young people's votes matter in your campaign?
What are the odds MSNBC selected both Vivek and Rear Admiral Buttigieg during the same college campus tour during the same year? Probably just a coincidence. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre says, yes, indeed, there's going to be another push to get everybody jabbed with an all-new COVID jab formulation.
So as I think you've heard from the FDA and CDC, they've made an announcement on the new vaccine. So certainly they said that there'll be an updated vaccine mid-September, I believe. So we know that, as you all know, vaccinations against COVID-19 remains the safest protection for avoiding hospitalization, long-term health outcomes, and death.
Checking in on Fox News, here's token lefty Harold Ford Jr.
I think the message from is get the shot if you want.
If you want it, go ahead.
Don't get it.
You're
going
to
get another one?
I just said I'm not going to ask anybody if they're getting their shot.
I won't wear a mask, but I'm going to get the shot.
You are? What number shot is this for you?
I've had it so I'm due one in October. I had one in April.
How many? What's the total?
This will be my 7th.
Oh.
And I've had COVID 3 times. Coming up.
Learning Chinese today. Today's phrase is 7 COVID jabs plus 3 COVID illnesses equals 1 person.
7次新冠疫苗注射加上3种新冠疾病等于1名智障人士。
We've now learned the National Archives has revealed it has 5,400 emails in which then Vice President Joe Biden used fake names to discuss business and government issues with his son Hunter. Civil War. And finally, rich men north of Richmond.
I've been working till the break of 4:45. I get an automatic raise, and I can't be fired. Must wait till age 57 till I can retire with an inflation-adjusted pension that continuously keeps going higher. Oh, it's a damn shame what the world's come to. They want us back in the office on Mondays too. Wish I could just wake up and it not be true, but it is. Oh, it is. Not living in the real world is a lot harder than you'd know. Sure, I got dental, but it's bad I go mental, 'cause I had to fill out both of these forms. I also see price hikes on necessities. I had to purchase my rental in Ocean City. Please don't tell anyone. It's so embarrassing, the plight of rich man north of Richmond.
That's Remy from Reason.com, and that's what happened while we were away.
That's even better than the original song.
Incredible.
That is extremely well done. I mean, that's extremely well done. For those of you who think I'm not taking this seriously enough, guys, we just had a midterm election where lots of people north of Richmond put us through hell for 3+ years. And not a single meaningful incumbent up for re-election in America lost.
So they're planning to do it again.
No, we're not serious. So why should I just come in here and just take this seriously every day when we're clearly not serious about it? Aaron's montage brought to you by a product that you need right now. Because especially if you're living in the Midwest, the next heat wave is coming this weekend. Make sure you get the sheets that keep you cool. They are the self-cooling sheets for better quality sleep from Miracle Made. Inspired by NASA, Miracle Made uses silver-infused fabrics that makes temperature-regulating bedding so you can sleep at the perfect temperature all night long. They're also self-cleaning, too. That exact same silver infusion prevents up to 99.7% of bacterial growths that leaves them to stay cleaner and fresh 3 times longer than other sheets. So no more gross odors as well. By the way, I mean, don't bury the lead here. These things are also really comfortable. They feel luxurious. They feel sleek. They're designed for your skin. You can't beat them. Best sheets I've ever slept on. TryMiracle.com/Deace is where you want to go. TryMiracle.com/Deace. If you order today, you can save 40% at trymiracle.com/Deace. But that's not all. If you use the promo code DEACE at checkout, you'll get 3 free towels and save an extra 20%. So use the promo code DEACE at trymiracle.com/Deace. Promo code DEACE at trymiracle.com/Deace. All right. To the montage. I don't think it's a fair. There's plenty of, and you alluded to this, Aaron. There's plenty of things that. What did Christie call him the other night? Not that I ever want to affirmatively quote Chris Christie, but what did he call Vivek the other night? Chat GPT or something. I mean, now he's denying things that he said just like last week.
Right.
Okay. I mean, you're talking to the guy who probably did more to discredit Romney as a political figure than any person in America did. And I can't recall this level of rapidity in Romney's flip-flops. Like, Romney would try to erase the stuff that he thought when he was governor of Massachusetts like 3, 4, 5 years ago, or when he ran for U.S. Senate against Ted Kennedy in 1994 and that over a decade ago, and wanted all that stuff kind of memory hold. And, you know, we're talking now about a guy that is just literally going back on stuff he just said like, you know, a week ago. That all being said, you know, he's young, he's 38, and 20 years ago, he was 18. I just don't think that's fair game. I am fascinated by the fact, though.
Yes.
Him and Pete Buttigieg, each in that audience, each getting on national TV on the same network. I will tell you the odds of that are very, very remote. I mean, 1 in 10 million. And yet,
I just assume Hydra showed up and approached both of them afterwards and said, I like how you handle your rig.
I like you have a saying, invincible ignorance.
Mm-hmm.
And that's Harold Ford in that clip.
Yes.
That is what that is.
And it's important. I
think it was important that they laughed at him, actually.
Yeah. I agree.
Very important that they laughed at him.
And notwithstanding how Aaron set that up, I love it. But this is my point, not only about invincible ignorance, but the magical power of vaccines.
Mm-hmm.
Harold Ford is not a moron. He's not. I mean, we've seen the crazy wide-eyed of all kinds. He's not. He's taken on, I know, for the Biden administration, you know, fairly aggressively. I mean, he's not trying to start a new wing of the party, but he's taken on what he believes to be a wrong tack. By Democratic standards, he's not particularly woke or anything like that. He's far more of a centrist. But on this, to your point, Steve, look, 7, 10, give them all. It's amazing.
We used to, when the vaccine war was hot and heavy in the summer and fall of 21 as the mandate was coming down the pike.
The pandemic of the unvaccinated.
Yes, and we would point out this is the only product ever that gets to market itself as not being successful because you chose not to use it. Okay? That the people who didn't buy it and the people who didn't consume it and use it are responsible for its failure, right? What do you say to someone who has risked that injection by his own admission 7 times and it's failed 3 times? Almost half the time it has failed him. I don't know how to communicate with that. And you have to understand that's why I said it was important that they laughed at him. Because that can't be reasoned with. You know, during that time, I used to use the analogy, imagine you're in the Valley of Ben Hinnom, waiting in line, all right, to cast your baby into the fire to Molech so that this fall's, harvest will produce a bountiful yield. And you're sitting there in the summertime, man, in Palestine, and you're sitting there in 6th century BC Israel. It ain't chilly, right? You're sitting there, everybody's, got to get one last baby toss in before the harvest, here in the fall. And so our crops don't fail. And so you're sitting there in the long line and you're thinking to yourself, I'm not sure this is a really good idea. Not to mention, I know we don't preach the law here much anymore, but I do seem to recall Moses told us, don't go into the Valley of Ben Hinnom and throw your babies into the fire to demons. So I'm not going to judge everybody else. Maybe you guys are right. I'm not Mr. Hebrew scholar here, but I kind of just going to check out, and we're to eject quietly, just mosey on out of here and head back to our own homestead. And everybody turns and looks at you and says, you'll be the reason why our crops fail. You'll be the reason why my wife doesn't get pregnant this year. And that our baby is born stillborn and we're not fertile. We're not reproductive. You'll do it. And I don't believe that you can data, and I say this as a guy who is data driven. I don't believe you can data argue against that. Because that's not science. That is idolatry. What Harold Ford Jr. just said on national TV is, I am an idolater. There is literally nothing that this branch of government could tell me to do that I would immediately reject on its face and not seriously consider. And so I don't know of anything else to do other than I think at that level, you have to mock it. And you see that in the scriptures. Right? When Paul is as a Jew, Paul confronts others who are so obsessed with circumcision that they could just be terrible people, disobey every syllable of the law, but as long as they cut off this piece of foreskin, God just totally overlooks it. What does he say to him? I'll tell you what, I'm not going to argue with you anymore. You guys show us your sincerity. Show us just how serious you are about circumcision. Cut your entire penises off and come back to me when you've done that. There does come a moment where you just have to mock. This is Elijah at Mount Carmel. Maybe your God's on the toilet. Maybe Baal's indisposed. He literally says that. Isaiah, how do you know which piece of this idol made of wood you've constructed that you should burn for heat and which one you're supposed to worship? Mockery. When you reach this level of idolatry, you cannot reason with it. And that's the point that you were making. This is a guy that has shown he has, in the past, he's willing to listen to reason on some level.
He can be a critical thinker.
And so if he's not willing to listen to reason here, then understand we're not reasoning with him is irrelevant. You have to mock that. And so I think that was Jesse Waters and a few others that were laughing at him. That's the exact right response. You have to mock it. Well, you have to make people feel like this is I am ridiculous for continuing on this path. That's the only thing. The fear of rebellion, the fear of mockery, ridicule. That's the only thing at that point that will get people to reconsider their positions when they're that deep into idolatry.
And I don't know if you fully know or understand how on the nose your throwing babies into the volcano analogy was, but we need those people who are laughing too. We need to laugh at ourselves. We've been throwing our babies into the volcano for a very, very long time on this front. That's how it got to this point where we had total trust in this total farce, because you've been jacking babies up with all kinds of chemicals. When Steve and I were babies, the cocktail was something like 15 to 17. Now it's 44 different shots. We've been doing this, believing utter voodoo for a very, very long time. So it ain't just Harold Ford. Most of you doing the laughing too need to have a chuckle about yourself and reevaluate things. Steve, and I can't thank you. Obviously, you know what side I come from, but thank you for continuing to draw a line of sight on this that so few have, because it's so important to understand that we did this to ourselves. We're the smartest people in the history of the world in terms of the amount of time we spend in a place called school or getting an education, and we don't know jack.
That's a direct relationship, actually.
Yeah.
That's a direct relationship. And yeah, I've talked openly many times about opening my own eyes during COVID. Hey, seeing this behavior here, what else are they lying to us about? What else are they misleading us about? So many things we have taken for granted for so long about our own bodies and how to take care of them and what medicine actually is versus what it isn't. Those things have been blown up, at least in my mind. I hope a critical mass of people are at least starting to internally, if not externally, internally asking themselves, hey, is this all a scam? But then again, there's the Harold Ford Jr.'s of the world who apparently have not asked themselves that question.
I mean, I was listening to a sports podcast the other day where a guy who's taken all the boosters got sick with COVID and quarantined himself, but said, don't worry, because I took the vax, I didn't get any serious and nothing serious. Still repeating talking points that no one has assumed for 12, 18 months. Just a cult. All right, back here on the Steve Deace Show, powered by our friends over at Jase Medical. Remember, they came out last year with the Jace case that allowed you to make sure that you had some of the most venerable and proven antibiotics on the market available to you for the next time we might have so-called emergencies, that they would decide, yeah, on second thought, we don't want to let you have those just when you might need them the most. Oh, and they're dangerous, mind you. They're dangerous. And so they wanted to make sure you had doxycycline, amoxicillin, etc. Now they want to make sure you back up your existing meds. And that can be for up to 12 months. And that can be anything from heart medication, diabetes, cholesterol, even mental health, and more. Just be prepared, because the system has proven you can't trust it, and give it the benefit of the doubt any longer. Go to jacemedical.com, JASE for jacemedical.com. Enter the code DACE at checkout for a discount on your order. jacemedical.com, code DACE at checkout for a discount. Jace Medical, JASE, jacemedical.com, discount code DACE. So I mentioned what happened before with COVID. And we had two medications that there had been some early trial data, some early clinical data, and then a lot of observational data around the world indicated that if COVID was detected early enough, could have some effectiveness against serious onset of symptoms, especially when it came to avoiding which is what killed a lot of people, the cytokine storm. And this is where the inflammation that you are dealing with on a pulmonary level is so high, eventually your body can't recover. We put people on ventilators, which killed them even faster. And that's why it was literally a flip of a coin. If you went into an American hospital during the early advent of COVID, and then even more so with the Delta variant, it was literally a flip of a coin if you went in there and you came out alive. And so we had two medications that had shown some level of promise. One of them, hydroxychloroquine, which had been approved clinically for about 60 years and has been given to probably tens of millions of people in the world. Another one, ivermectin, which had been approved for the Nobel Prize in 2015 and was considered by its manufacturer, Merck, to be one of the miracle drugs of the 21st century. And then when people started seeing results as a treatment against COVID, Merck suddenly put out a press release calling their own drug they won a Nobel Prize for dangerous and not safe. Terry Bradshaw lampooned Aaron Rodgers last year on the Fox NFL show for taking horse paste. That is not what ivermectin originally was. Horses are mammals like humans. They have some of the same biological, physiological, immunological properties. So a lot of medications these days are refashioned for animal use, particularly when we're talking about, mammals like us. But it was originally developed to save humans, and it saved so many lives it won a Nobel Prize. So I'm not telling you, for a lot of you in this audience, these are all stories you know, you lived, you heard. But this became very personal to me when I got a call one night on a weekend from one of my very good friends, a decorated Marine, served his country in Somalia, was charged with defending a president at Camp David as part of his security detail. A guy that even still, at his age, looks like he just walked right out of a set from American Gladiators. And now he can't breathe. I was able to get him in touch with Dr. Molly James. We were able to get him the prescription for ivermectin. He lives in right around the Iowa-Minnesota border, tried to go to Walmart and his grocery store both. They refused to fill his subscriptions. They were willing to kill him. Luckily, because of his background as a farmer, he was able to recalibrate the horse paste version and consume it the right amount as a human being, and right away began to see his symptoms subside. Within 24, 48 hours, he was back up on his feet, having conversations with his wife and kids. And so we introduced you to Bill Salier last year, when, along with our friends at We the Patriots USA. We raised about $50,000 out of this audience to launch a landmark case against Walmart for its refusal to prescribe him a drug that would have saved his life and potentially risking killing him. So Bill Salier joins me on the phone now for an update on that case. It's good to have you back, brother. How are you?
I am well, Steve. And I'll tell you what, you are the master of the segue, buddy. That was just extremely well done.
Well, thank you. And did I make sure I got all the pertinent details of what happened to you and what they tried to do to you? Did I get it all correct?
Yeah. There was actually myself and my wife who were sick with this. I was worse. She got it later than me, so she was trying to take care of me in that cytokine storm when she was in the earlier phases. And Dr. James prescribed hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin for her, but said that the hydroxy was too late for me being in the cytokine storm, but that the ivermectin combined with some other things that was just wacky, is antidepressants and allergy medicines. I mean, it was all over the place, was going to turn me around, but she said the key component to it was the ivermectin to be in with everything else, steroids, etc. So, yes, we were turned down at both locations. Yes, we went the horse paste version. Eventually, Dr. James was able to get a pharmacy out of Florida who was just being overwhelmed with requests from physicians to send ivermectin. They did fulfill it. And by the time they were able to catch up to our request and get it to us up here in Minnesota, I was already back at work. And it was in fact 4 hours after my wife took the pony version of this and 8 hours for me that we had started to turn around as, oh my gosh, I'm not going to die. I can't believe this. This is so incredible, the fast turnaround that I went through once we did it. But it was stressful. Talking to vets, talking to doctor, talking to a pharmacist who is a friend of ours, we know this is the same thing, but it's still stressful when you're also being told in the other, this is going to kill you, it's a vet medicine. And so you hold hands and pray, and it's really what you came down to there. It's a roll of the dice. If I don't do this, my opinion was, I didn't think I was going to survive a couple more days. I was in trouble. That's the gut feeling I had. I could feel I was losing this. So what do you do? Do you roll the dice, or do you roll the dice the other way and say, hey, this is the same thing, let's adjust the numbers and go? Now, we were careful. I mean, we made sure that was the only ingredient. It wasn't combined with some other worm or anything like that, any other active ingredient meant for an animal. We were careful about what we were doing, but we went with that option, and it absolutely saved my life. I'll never be convinced any other way. And Carla may very well have gone into that cytokine storm in a later phase too, and it may have taken her too. Now, she was earlier, so we don't know that. But the stress that was involved in it, and the knowledge that the pharmacies from some of these big companies were doing this to people all over the country, people were dying from it. They couldn't get access to something that was saving lives. So, yes, we pursued that, which is what brings us to this conversation today with that lawsuit. So, first of all, I want to thank We the Patriots. I want to thank you, Steve. And I've thanked you personally several times, but for everyone to hear, you and Dr. James were so integral in saving my life and giving me time to, be with the kids and raise them out and maybe even look towards retirement one day, that I do not believe I would have had if you had not stepped in. And my wife was just relentless. She would not quit until I turned around, even though she was sick herself. So you folks absolutely saved my life, and I appreciate it. The lawsuit was funded because of you, We the Patriots, and especially your listeners. So many times people contribute to things, and they never really find out what happened or where it went. And this did not end the way we wanted it to. We were never allowed to really have a day in court in front of a jury of our peers. We never even got to the discovery phase. It just kept being thrown out by the judges. We appealed the initial one. They threw it out again with a 3-judge panel at the 8th Circuit. It's been thrown out with great malice. We were never allowed to advance, even to the discovery phase, let alone to be able to be heard in front of a jury of our peers. So it didn't end the way we wanted, but people cannot stop doing the right thing simply because others stand in our way. So the fact that you folks stepped in and helped my family and tried to help the nation at the level that you did, and it was fast. I remember doing that radio hit with you, Steve, and I believe they melted down the website, and within like 40 minutes, once they got it back up, we were fully funded to pursue this.
Mm-hmm.
There is so much righteousness and goodness that exists within our country, and we're pilloried all the time with the negatives. So I don't want the loss of this and the inability for us to proceed, that the judges just clamp down and this will not be heard type of attitude. I don't want it to affect folks into thinking that there's never going to be a way to win. Now, maybe this one wasn't. But if you lose the attitude of, nope, we're going again, nope, we're going again, then it's lost. But until you lose that attitude, then we're still in good shape, because the by far overwhelming preponderance of the people that are out there are truly wonderful, stalwart people who do not like the direction we've been taken in and are concerned at a great level, to say the least. Didn't work, but thank you for your efforts, America.
Well, I wish I could say I'm surprised. I was very optimistic when we launched this, but it's been well over a year now, Bill, and seeing how little of a clamoring there is from our countrymen for wanting a reckoning for this, even as they are now talking about bringing it back, just as we warned they would do if they weren't punished the first time.
Gee, that's not predictable or anything.
Indeed, it is not. And yeah, people think I'm smart. No, I'm just honest. Those are two different things. Okay. I'm willing to say things that are true that aren't popular, and that makes me seem smart or prophetic. No, I'm just honest. And as the months have gone on here, and seeing how little clamoring there is for justice for this, it's very clear that a lot of Americans, even good people, good patriots, view this as just some kind of moment. Everyone went crazy for a panic, and let's just move on, as opposed to an omen of what is to come. And I just, you and your family deserved justice. So many families that we interviewed for Rise of the Fourth Reich, whose stories did not end as happily as yours did, deserve justice, and it looks like they're not going to get it. And I'm. It speaks of your character that you wanted to come on here and give us a pep talk, when really your family, you're the victims here. They tried to kill you, and then they used lawfare to de facto do that by denying you standing to face the people that tried to do it. And I'm just very sorry. I'm sorry for you and so many people in our audience that are just never, it looks like, ever going to see justice for a lot of what was done here, at least not in this life, brother.
Well, agreed, but there's still positivity in the reaction that folks like your audience, like Brian with We the Patriots, you, Dr. James, who fought and fought and fought to save people, there's still hope out there. So my loss, our loss, doesn't mean the country is lost. Yeah, we're in a hurt locker. There is no question about it. And it's over many, many fronts. But it is not over in terms of our nation's ability to become free again. And I'm careful in the way I phrase that. I did it on purpose, because we're not currently living in a free country. But there is hope to rally back and reestablish what we are supposed to be. But I will just offer one more thought. Yes, I know my family was wronged, but the reason that we launched that, I've never had a lawsuit in my life. The reason that we launched that was to stop them from doing it to everyone else. What was done to me, but we wanted to have this not be able to take place again in the future with another excuse that they use to dominate people. We wanted to curtail and have a personal relationship between you and your physician. And in the end, you know, my physician prescribed this, but I'm the final arbiter of whether I took it or not. Even if I'd gotten the actual ivermectin, she might prescribe it, but she's not forcing it down my throat. Mm-hmm. I'm still the one that makes the decision for what I think is best to preserve my life in the best capability that I can. And that is the mentality that we wanted to get corrected. Not just simply, hey, you did me wrong and I'm going to sue you. We wanted to step in and not have this as hundreds of thousands of other people were suffering and will again if we don't get this situation corrected. That is why we stepped in and did what we did.
Amen. Well said, brother. Thank you for coming on here and for your courage. And love you. And thank you very much just for everything, man.
I appreciate it, Steve. And thanks again to your listeners. Don't give up hope.
Thank you, Bill. God bless.
Take care.
You too. So I know a lot of you gave. I gave thousands of dollars of my own money to this out of my own pocket as well. And we tried. We've tried to do more than just write blogs and books. And we need to do that to get information out. That's vital. But we've tried. Right now we've still got a couple hundred more book autographed copies of Rise of the Fourth Reich available at fourthreichbook.com for a couple of military members that were brave whistleblowers and defended other military members who did not want to take this poison and gave them the exemptions that they were due. And now the military didn't just purge them and discharge them dishonorably, but now they're trying to stop them from working in the private sector in the medical field now. So if you want to go to fourthreichbook.com, get a special autographed version of Rise of the Fourth Reich. Neither Daniel or I are getting a nickel out of this. All the money is going to the legal defenses of the two brave soldiers we just told you about. They stood up for us. Time for us to now stand up for them. So Rise of the or fourthreichbook.com. Fourthreichbook.com is where you can go to help us sell out the last couple hundred or so of those books. And that'll be at least $20,000 that we've raised to help with the legal defense of those two brave men. But we're living in a lawless era. Thoughts?
And what I love how Bill closed it. All he asks is to be free.
That's a big ask.
Yeah. These days it is, but ultimately to bring it back to that point is the bottom line. Everybody else, we have the magic potion. Give me the magic potion. Bill just wanted, how about you let me read the ingredients on the back of your so-called magic potion and decide for myself? Whether we're talking about this COVID jab or anything else, regarding this medical tyranny, that's the main question you should be asking. This is more fundamental than medicine. It is, what are you prepared to do in the name of liberty?
We'll come back. My oldest daughter will join us, and then we will spend the rest of the time talking about Tucker and Trump and what it means moving forward. Stay tuned. All right, back here with Hour 2, live and on demand on Blaze TV, radio, and podcast. Steve Deace here with Aaron McIntyre, Todd Erzin, and all of you. And all of you, though hopefully not all at once, can let us know what you think about what we think by emailing the show, steve@stevedeace.com, DEACE. Like us on Facebook, MeWe, and Gab. Follow me at Steve Deace Show on Twitter, Getter, Instagram, and TikTok. You can also find me on Truth Social at Real Steve Deace. The last name is DEACE, by the way. If you're a podcast listener, thank you. We appreciate you. And we'd ask that you would please show your appreciation for us by giving us a 5-star review, if you like the show, that is. And thank you to all of you who have, thousands of you have, in fact. And also hit subscribe or follow. And lots more of you have done those things. So thank you for that, too. And the reason why is if you do that, then you're guaranteed that every time a new episode drops, you get it in your feed right away. So thank you for that. I mentioned last hour the heat wave is returning, at least here in the Midwest. Make sure you connect with Sweatblock right now and you're ready. Whether it's their deodorant lotions that keep your skin from getting swampy, their deodorant stick, which is the truth, man. That thing does not mess around. Or the OG product, the antiperspirant wipes that they have for excessive sweating. And that can be an issue, too, where it's not even the heat. Maybe it's just your adrenaline and momentum and stuff gets going. And first date, big job interview, public speaking, and you just can't stop the pitting. These wipes will help you with that, all right? So go to sweatblock.com right now. Use the promo code DEACE. You'll get 20% off when you do. Promo code DEACE at sweatblock.com. That's promo code DEACE at sweatblock.com. We're going to spend the bulk of this hour discussing the Tucker Trump interview and what that means for both where Tucker is at from a career trajectory standpoint and its impact or lack thereof, given the amount of hype going into this and what that may mean as well. We're going to be spending the bulk of the hour talking about that. And a lot of you have been asking for the last 4 or 5 days, hey, when are you guys going to break that down? Well, we're going to do it for both Pop Culture Tuesday and Fake News or Not. Because this wasn't just a question of journalism or media, but also the introduction of a new platform for the dissemination of content directly to people and what we may have learned about that platform in the process as well. So we're going to get to all of that in the bulk of this hour. But first, we welcome in my oldest daughter. Good to see you, Princess. How are you?
Good. How are you doing, Dad?
Good to see you, Anastasia. I'm great. Even better now that you're here.
Thank you.
So what are we talking about this week?
Well, so you kind of hinted to it last Thursday, so I thought that I would take this time to kind of like announce something to your audience. And yeah, so should I just say it?
You may, however you would like to do it. You can sing it in song. What would you like to say?
No, I mean, a lot of people already guessed it, but Stephen and I are expecting our first baby March 3rd.
Aww.
Next year. So we're really excited.
So that is why, by the way, there was a bit of a wardrobe change. There are some of the early ultrasound pictures there. That is why we went to a wardrobe change here during the last break.
But
your mom had this shirt like made for me like right away, and wanted me to wear this in anticipation of this segment happening, which it's happening right now.
I do have to tell you guys something though.
Yes.
Is I did kind of actually, I told a little white lie to the family, just a little one.
Okay.
Is that last Wednesday when we went in for that ultrasound, we got blood work done to see what the gender of the baby was.
Oh, so you do know.
So we do know. So I thought, since you don't know, since we kind of told you guys so fast when we were pregnant and everything, so I thought this might be a fun little surprise to tell you.
So wait, we had a birthday dinner for your mom on Sunday.
I know.
And you didn't tell us then.
No, and so Stephen, my husband's parents, don't know either. So I'm going to clip the video and then I'm going to send this to them after the show as well.
Okay. All right.
So, and I made sure Mom and Grandma should be watching right now. I'm going to send it to Zoe and Noah later too.
Okay. So Mama's watching right now. Your mom is
nobody
watching.
We haven't told anybody. So, and we had given you the impression that we weren't going to know for a while, but they actually asked us last week. And then Thursday, when you kind of put me on the spot being like, don't you have an announcement? The reason I didn't say it was because the blood work had not come in yet. So that is why I ended up not saying anything, to try to give it some more time.
Okay.
So then it has come in. So we're going to tell you that if it's a boy or girl, and I'm going to tell you the name.
Oh, wow. So this is breaking news. This is big time. This is only the biggest events happen right here on The Blaze, folks. All right. So, okay, just a second.
Are you ready?
I got to get ready. All right, hold on. Okay.
Should I just tell you now?
You may do it. The floor is yours.
So, Stephen and I are having a girl March 3rd, and her name will be Autumn Elizabeth Hibbs.
Oh, that's a very pretty name.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Elizabeth, because it's my middle name, and then I don't know if you know this, but it's actually Stephen's mom and his sister's middle name as well.
Okay,
yeah.
So there's some connection there.
Yeah.
And Hibbs is his last name, I'm guessing, right?
Yes, and then Hibbs is his last name, yes.
So why autumn, other than that it's the most wonderful time of the year?
That is why.
Yeah.
It's my favorite season, and it's when we got married. So I thought that would be a really sweet, first child name. You know? It's the season we got married in. It's also the best season of the year. So,
you got married and moved out.
Mm-hmm.
Your younger sister's moving out this weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I'm struggling with it more than I'm letting on, because I just know that it's a rite of passage. Todd, you've gone through this now for the last 2 summers in a row, right?
Yes.
But I miss just having little girls that want to go with me everywhere, that want to sit with me to watch every show, okay, like you and your sister did for many years. I miss that quite a bit. So I'm totally ready for that again.
I think you'll be a really good girl grandpa. Not that you would have been a good both, but
I'm totally ready to spoil another princess. I'm completely ready to do that. So
we were pretty convinced it was a boy. Like, we were in normal, like, everyday conversation, like, referring to the baby as a he.
Yeah.
And I caught myself starting to do that as well. So when I opened it up, like, the results yesterday, I was pretty surprised.
And how accurate are those results?
It's like 99.4%.
Yeah,
so
I knew it was pretty high. Yeah. Didn't know it was that high, but I knew it was pretty high.
So, I mean, I'd be a little surprised when it came out if there was something I wasn't expecting, but, you know, but it's a girl, yeah.
So now you can plan, right?
Yes, I did already start putting together stuff.
Of course you did, because that you're your mother's daughter. That's the side that you inherited from her. You're already planning everything. Got a notebook?
I do have a notebook.
You're writing stuff in it?
I do have a notebook, and I am writing things in it, yes.
Yeah. That's the stuff you got from your mama for sure. So I can't wait. I mean, I'm very, very excited. I'm excited for you guys most of all. I'm not going to lie, though. I'm excited for me, too.
I'm very excited.
I am completely ready to be grandpa. I have been for a long time. I am ready to be grandpa. And it took your mom a while, but I think she's ready to be grandma now. She wasn't ready for about a year. Just didn't want to be called that, but I think she's ready to be grandma now. She's actually I have had to stop her from spending enough money to reboot the Biden economy over the last couple of months. Only because we just didn't know a lot yet, right? Well, I'm out of excuses now that we know. So
I know, and Steven's really excited.
Anybody has an idea for a new book I could write, all right, that'll just essentially fund my wife's baby slush fund, let me know. Okay, but go ahead.
Steven will have to give up he was saying that if we were going to have a boy, it was going to be a Minnesota Vikings nursery.
Yes.
He said. So, and the other day when we were in Barnes & Noble, he was looking at baby books about how to teach your child about who the Minnesota Vikings are. And
very short book, I would imagine, maybe a page or two. Sorry.
Oh, gosh.
Sorry.
I love you, babe. Don't take that seriously, please. Oh, God.
Sorry. So now what color is it going to be?
It'll probably be pink. See, now I feel like I'm taking over now.
Now it's your turn.
So now it'll be like we're already talking about like putting the baby in ballet, like when they're like 3. Like we've planned things ahead. Like the other day we were talking about like when she brings home her first boyfriend, like what we'll say. Steven like sometimes needs to sit down because he doesn't. Sometimes he's like, okay, like it's not even born yet. You gotta chill. But I'm just trying to think ahead so we know. I feel like you can't do that, but I'm trying my best.
All right, gentlemen, your thoughts.
Congrats. Yeah. It's exciting.
Thank you.
There's nothing but this is the point, and just remember that, you know, ballet or otherwise, soccer or otherwise, you know, your cup runneth over right now, and it forever will be because you're lucky enough to be called mom or dad by one of God's creation. So take it and run with it, sister. It's the best there is.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, so I've been a dad for 2 years now. It is as awesome as it is hard, and it's as hard as it is awesome. You'll be exhausted, but it's a good kind of exhausted. There's really no downside to being a parent. That's my review after 2 years. There's really, for everything that's hard, there's 3 more moments that are awesome. So I think you guys have a lot to look forward to.
Well, if we may just expand this to the point of the show, if you're a parent and you're often thinking about the downsides of being a parent, you know, that's a you problem. You probably want to look in the mirror and think about what you need to do to be the light in that child's life more often. And that can come in all different shapes and sizes. We don't all do it the same. But man, it is the greatest blessing you can possibly have.
It is. I mean, I'll just tell you, there has been nothing in my life has been more thrilling and rewarding than being you and Zoe and Noah's dad. Nothing has been. And since you were the first that came along, particularly where you are concerned, I mean, you gave me a level of direction and purpose that I just didn't have. I mean, you made me for the first time truly grow up. And now just when we were sitting around talking after dinner Sunday, a lot of stuff we can't talk about on the air. And I mean, I'm watching your mannerisms, and I'm watching the way you analyze situations, and I'm watching the way that you talk. And I'm like, it is like watching a prettier, more feminine version of myself. I mean, it's just unbelievable, you know? And so hopefully that's a reminder, by the way, of the importance of this job, that those kids are like little recorders, man, and they're capturing video all the time. And so my hope is, as your dad, that you got the best things of me that you observed, particularly my cleaning habits. And
let's not sully this moment.
and that you didn't absorb the worst ones, and instead, I've always told you this, you know, you guys go out and make your own mistakes. Learn from the mistakes that your mom and I made. Learn from the mistakes you watched us make as you grew up in our home, and then go out and make your own mistakes. So I'm just very, very, my heart is full. I'm just very, very happy. I cannot wait. I'm very happy for you guys.
Thank you.
Yep. And we're very much looking forward to babysitting. And there's going to come a time that you're going to very much looking forward to our babysitting as well. All right. So any other words?
No, I don't think so. I was just really excited to be able to tell you if it was a boy or girl or not. And we'll be excited I'll send this video to Steven's parents too, so they'll be really excited as well.
Very cool. Well, I don't even know how to segue from this. I mean, but thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I mean, you have not been perfect, but you have been an incredible and continue to be an incredible daughter. And I am extremely proud to be your daddy and always have been. So I'm very, very happy for you, and I cannot wait. So
well, thank you, Dad. I love you.
I love you too. Thank you, sweetheart.
You're welcome.
All right. Go ahead and wobble on out of here now. Go ahead.
To the last.
Someone's got to get the last word, and it's always going to probably be me. All right. So, all right. Fake news or not, brought to you by our friends. Good segue, actually. Of our friends over at the Refocus podcast. This is from Jim Daly at Focus on the Family, helping families follow their faith for over 40 years. He's been president of Focus on the Family for about 20. This is a podcast that focuses on confronting a world that has turned truth upside down, helping our kids from being misled, healing marriages that are falling apart, and trying to restore the Christian values that once held this country together but are being thrown out the window as we speak. If you want encouragement and equipping, you can subscribe to the Refocus podcast with Jim Daly on Spotify, Apple, or anywhere else you listen to podcasts. Refocus with Jim Daly on Spotify, Apple, or anywhere else where you listen to podcasts. All right. We're going to spend the rest of this hour looking both at the substance of the exchange between Tucker and Trump, or frankly, unfortunately, the lack thereof, but then also what this moment meant from a media perspective. And that's where the pop culture angle comes into play as well. I saw something our buddy Dan Bongino tweeted out earlier, actually during the break, and I want to share this. Dan tweeted out...
We have some breaking news, too.
Oh, we do? Go ahead.
Miami Mayor Francis Suarez has dropped out of the presidential race.
With a 0.0%.
You're supposed to say who.
Yeah, I think he figured out Vivek's going to be a better Trump surrogate than me, and so there's really no point to me continuing the race. Where is this at? Here it is. Dan posts the latest top 5 shows on iTunes, which is about 65%, of the podcast market. So a clear majority, almost 2/3. And Dan points out none of the top 5 have a cable news contract. And yet they each have audiences measured in the millions. Ben Shapiro's number 1, Dan Bongino's number 2, Megyn Kelly's number 3, Matt Walsh is number 4, Glenn Beck is number 5. And so none of these are people that have cable news contracts. Also in the top 10, Charlie Kirk, no cable news contract. Michael Knowles, no cable news contract. Steve Bannon, no cable news contract. I mentioned Candace Owens. No, I said Candace Owens, no cable news contract. In fact, I think the only person in the top 10 that I saw when I looked after Dan's post is Mark Levin is the only one, and he's on weekends. So the Great One is the only one I think that had a cable news contract that is a top 10 podcast a conservative podcast, according to iTunes. By the way, we're currently 16th on that list, if you're wondering, because I figured might as well see where we're at too. We're currently 16th on that list, if I counted correctly. Maybe it was 17. Somewhere in the mid-teens is where we are. Also with no cable news contract. Okay, so I want to talk about what this means. First, I want to address the substance. That's the most important part. But then in the second part of our conversation, the rest of this hour, guys, I want to address what it means from a media perspective moving forward. Okay? So I want to start with the substance. And I want to go back to what I said on this show after the Family Leader Summit that we broadcast here on The Blaze, and Tucker was brought in to question the candidates and MC the event. And I was a vocal advocate of it. As a lot of you know, the head of the Family Leader, Bob Vander Plaats, is one of my very best friends. And I mean, I absolutely strongly endorsed to lobbied Bob the last 2 years to both bring Tucker in last year as the keynote address and then bring him back this year to question the candidates. I wrote a column for The Blaze in the aftermath of the Leadership Summit giving glowing praise to Tucker. But I remember the conversation we had when we came in here the next week. The temptation now for Tucker will be to become the new gatekeeper now. And I'm very concerned after what I saw of the Tucker Trump. It wasn't an interview. It was an infomercial. So a few things I want to say about that, then I'll turn it over to you guys. We don't need a MAGA Drudge. We got rid of Matt Drudge. We don't need Tucker as the new gatekeeper instead of Fox. We need the Tucker who was on Fox and made the gatekeepers nervous. We don't need to do PR for the Tates. We need to question narratives, even the ones that we like. We don't need to troll Fox for revenge. The Bible that Tucker told us he is now studying seriously for the first time is very clear that vengeance belongs to the Lord. We need Tucker the truth seeker, not the revenge seeker. We don't need yet another Trump loyalist. We need someone of prominence that will push Trump to remain loyal to his base on the issues that are long going to outlive Donald Trump. I am an unabashed Tucker Carlson fanboy. As I mentioned a few minutes ago, I personally lobbied my friend Bob Vander Plaats to bring Tucker into the Leadership Summit the last 2 years in a row. Tucker is one of the few media people I have personally sought out a picture with. I mentioned I just wrote a glowing column about him at The Blaze. I think his collective work the last 5 years is at least the most important work our movement and industry has done other than Rush. And I could argue more important. It's just ultimately without Rush, this industry movement doesn't exist, right? So who's the greatest president of all time? George Washington. Because if he sucked, there wouldn't be others. Who's the greatest figure in the history of conservative media? Rush Limbaugh. Because if he sucked, there wouldn't have been others. See what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But at the very least, I think what Tucker's done the last 5 years would be number 2 on that list. The only primetime show on Fox that ever had me on was Tucker, and he did so twice. Both times to discuss Fauci, COVID, tyranny, the jab, etc. And so I have no idea how it is possible that Tucker never asked Trump about any of those things. I mean, we played the clip. The loudest applause line at the Leadership Summit was what? When Tucker said to Asa Hutchinson he had taken none of the jab. Mm-hmm. Well, you're sitting across from the guy who calls himself the father of the jab and is proud of it. No questions on, hey, might you want to know why I didn't take any of this? Nothing. Instead, pre-debate, Tucker did a slurping interview with Trump surrogate Vivek, oddly timed to do it right before the debate. Weird. And then post-debate, or during the debate, does another slurping interview with Trump himself. I'm sorry, but these are not good signs about where independent Tucker is heading. It's just very few people will say it out of fear of offending him, given the size of the views in his audience. But I don't care about that stuff and never have. Maybe I should, but in this case, it doesn't matter, because if Tucker's going to continue on the course he's on right now, I'm never getting invited on there anyway. I'll never be on anyway. Because if this is not now about questioning narratives, people forget the text that Tucker was sending about Trump in the last days of his presidency. Said he was autistic. Said we needed to be rid of him. Doesn't listen. Tired of the act. Now we're doing slurping interviews. I mean, I was on the Blaze the night of the debate. I thought DeSantis' answer on Ukraine was weak. So guess what I said on the air?
It was weak.
It was weak. And I'm a DeSantis endorser. I thought it was weak. The parts where he was good, I said he was good. Parts where I didn't think he was good, I said he wasn't good. Because ultimately, what I care about the most is the truth. And without that, our kids and grandkids don't have any hope. So we don't need to go from will it play on Fox to will this get me on Tucker. We don't need Tucker to be Boromir or Faramir. Let me put the ring on my finger. I will wield it justly. No. We need the Tucker on Fox who was throwing rings into Mount Doom. That's the Tucker we need. And that's the Tucker that we blessedly had. And that's what made Tucker a superstar without having to kiss anybody's ass or align with anybody. And this has absolutely zero to do with DeSantis. The jab still poisoned people whether Ron DeSantis is running for president or not. Tucker still would not have taken any of the jab because Ron DeSantis isn't running for president. These questions, these aren't about the primary. I don't care what Tucker thinks of Ron DeSantis. He must think something positive. He lives in a state half the year, but I don't care. What I do care about is the possibility that we may lose someone as important and heroic and prominent as Tucker to just become the next guy with a narrative and a faction that I represent, as opposed to a guy that just came to drop truth bombs. Ultimately, I have one real fear, and that is that we have become a movement, industry, and generation that used to be Jacob. Fundamentally imperfect, but sincerely wrestling with God. And that we are now Esau's. Whatever gets instant gratification, satiation, we sell our birthright for that. A full belly today. And that is going to doom our children and our grandchildren. And I think to avoid that being fulfilled, we need leaders who will zealously, fearlessly, and desperately pursue the truth like Tucker did on Fox. That's not what he did in that interview. He desperately pursued a Trump candidacy. And if he wants to do that, cool. Then just endorse and just say so. I'm here to promote the candidate I believe in. Okay. I wouldn't even be doing this if he had done that.
Right.
I get it. But that's not what he did, is it?
It is not.
No. That's not the leader Tucker's been for the last 5 years. It's not. And we need that Tucker. So I would imagine there's 1 million people in his ear with business opportunities, advice. I would urge our audience to please pray for him to have clarity and courage. Because I don't know who's on deck if we lose him. And when I say lose him, I mean he just becomes another person representing a faction of people, playing to fanboys rather than laying waste to narratives. That's what we need more than anything else. We don't need a smarter, better idolatry. We need the smashing of idols. And that's what he did for 5 years on Fox. And my hope was, being free to Fox, he'd smash the idols even more ruthlessly. But that is not what we saw last week, gentlemen. Your thoughts?
Well, you know what I said about this beforehand. I couldn't envision something like this happening because there was no pressure, visible pressure for him that I could see for him to do it. He could go into, he had enough cachet. I'll do this interview, and quite frankly, I'm leaning in your direction, but there's elephants in the room. I need to ask them with no ambiguity, and you give your answer, and then we can move on. And if you don't want to do that, fine. That's Tucker did not have to really put a camel through an eye of the needle for this thing to be a success. He almost seems to be trying to do it on this thing. So why? And so I haven't changed. I said it out loud on the show last week. I just simply present it again. Is there a deal on the table, something like from Donald Trump, if I win, you're my chief of staff, and or win or lose, if you don't want to work in the government, I fund your next step as a media empire. And Tucker knows this guy's 8 years old. You know, he's moving on. This thing will be mine. Those are the only things that have any sense from any Occam's razor perspective. Everything else, the other thing is just totally selling out, which I guess that happens, but damn if it did.
Aaron, what did you think?
I don't know. Tucker Carlson made really good money.
Right.
At Fox News. Why feel the need to sell out right now?
Agreed.
So I don't know what this is. In giving him the maximum benefit of the doubt, which, in my opinion, he has earned because of all of the narratives that he has smashed or questioned over the last few years in particular. Giving him the maximum benefit of the doubt, what I come to the conclusion of is it Boromir or Faramir putting the ring on? That's giving him maximum benefit of the doubt. I can manipulate Trump into doing something that I think needs to be done, or being something I think he needs to be. That's all I see this as. Again, that's giving him maximum benefit of the doubt.
Which he probably has earned.
Which I just laid out.
Yeah. As you said, he's probably earned that. Yeah.
Because I can't really think of another scenario where you would go down this route. Hey, do you think they're going to kill you? Not really asking him. I mean, after a few weeks.
You did get Trump to say he's the only person in America that thinks Jeffrey Epstein killed himself.
Okay.
You did get Trump to say that, I guess.
What are we doing here?
I don't know, but the signs aren't good. But we're going to let that story play itself out a little bit more. I want to talk now about what this means from a media perspective when we come back. All right, if you are struggling with chronic pain, then we may have the solution. No guarantees, but how about spending $20 for 70% odds that we do? That is the 3-week quick start that they offer you at Relief Factor to see if you don't see a difference in your pain level in 3 weeks or less when you go to ReliefFactor.com. Relief Factor is the drug-free anti-inflammatory. Why do you want an anti-inflammatory? Because that's probably the reason why you have that achiness, that soreness, that stiffness in your joints that just won't go away. That's probably from too much inflammation. This is the all-natural anti-inflammatory devised by physicians who can prescribe drugs, but it's drug-free. Why? Hey, there's a lot of great drugs out there. I'm not talking about the narcotic variety, like the medical ones. But, they can also, with overuse, they can tax other organs and systems in your body. So there's not always a natural method to things, but if there is one, take full advantage of it. We're about 70% confident this is the right one for you because that's the odds over the years. About 70% of the people that have tried the 3-week quick start for $20 have stuck around long term because of the results they saw in 3 weeks or less from Relief Factor. What do you have to lose? You've tried everything else? Give it a try. 3 weeks for $20. See if you don't see a marked improvement in your pain level. When you go to ReliefFactor.com, ReliefFactor.com, or call 800-4, the number 4, 800-4-RELIEF, 800-4-RELIEF, or ReliefFactor.com. All right, so let's get into the broader, and we're going to spend more time on this because, frankly, there was almost no substance in the Tucker-Trump interview. I mean, I don't even know how that's possible. How is it possible the most consequential political figure of this century and the most consequential media figure of this decade get together for a 45-minute conversation and nothing of substance happens? I mean, think about it. Think about how many columns were written, including by yours truly, about what Tucker did to Mike Pence and Asa Hutchinson, who are not consequential figures politically. Think about how much was written and said in the aftermath of the leadership summit because of the substance of those conversations, right? Written about and talked about across the media spectrum. I mean, there's very little. This was only 5 days ago. And it's like the Tucker Trump interview never happened because there was no substance there. It was a nothing. What was the point of it?
And when the bar is so low everywhere else for substance, all you have to do is provide a little bit, and you've got some of the cover you need. And furthermore, if it was him selling out, it's more likely that all of a sudden he does go there, brings up the issue, but goes there in a way that is totally antithetical to what he did with Asa Hutchinson just weeks
set
before.
him up for success?
Yeah, set him up for success and said nothing. That's why there's got to be something else going on to me.
Okay. Let's talk about what I think is far more consequential, or not, but more consequential of a discussion. The precedent that this sets. Okay? There's a lot of talk about the amount of views, and maybe you saw this. 12 million people watched the GOP debate, 250 million views of the Tucker Trump interview. Guess who won? Well, folks, it's a little more complicated than that. Okay? By the way, I think I predicted that if Trump showed up, 30 million people would watch the GOP debate. If he didn't, 10 to 15 million people would watch. That's pretty much exactly what happened. Now, here's the thing. Without Trump there, there's not much of a gawker crowd. You know what I'm saying? With Trump, you're going to get a gawker crowd. People just aren't going to ever vote Republican, but are just damn curious to see the show and will watch. You're not going to get that. So I would guess that, very small numbers of people who watch that GOP debate are not actual GOP primary voters. There was a Washington Post poll that found 7% of GOP primary voters watched Tucker and Trump instead of the debate. The only reason I'm giving that any credibility, by the way, is because a week ago Monday on this show, what did I tell you was the data I had seen? The percentage of GOP primary voters that are on Twitter, quote, often. What was the percentage? Do you remember what it was? 7. The exact number in that poll. That's the only reason I give it any weight at all. Okay? So the way Twitter works is you get, and I didn't know any of this. I wanted to kind of get to the, let me start here. I absolutely have every incentive to bury legacy media. It's done nothing for me. It's held me back. It's been a gatekeeper. It's tried to stop people like me from challenging narratives. It doesn't give us a platform. Okay. I have no incentive at all to try and hoist the carcass, the dying carcass of legacy media up, like Moses guiding the Israelites in war with his arms up. I have none. And I absolutely believe we are watching the slow death of legacy media. It's generationally happening. But I just want to make sure we understand we're not having the 2028 election cycle, are we? We're not having the 2032 election cycle, are we? We're having the 2024 cycle. Right. And so therefore, the metrics that are in place right now and prevalent in 24 have to be examined objectively. Now, I think we're 1-2 cycles away from legacy media essentially being dead when you look at it's a dying technology with a largely dying audience. But we're not there yet, are we? No. So here's the way I found out Twitter works under Elon. If someone watches your video for 2 seconds, it is credited with Twitter's algorithm as in full view. 2 seconds. It's credited with a full view. I am guessing, given the prominence of this event for Twitter, probably Elon had their algorithm geared that this Tucker Trump thing was in everybody's feed. Think that's fair?
Yeah.
Probably got pretty favorable algorithm placement. By the way, that's smart.
Yes.
Twitter, it would be smart of Elon to do that in order to more legitimize his platform as the place now where serious news and conversation takes place politically. Okay? So you can't just go with the views. 250 million views is an incredible number. And that's what it was as of 5 days ago. You have to look at the engagements. So for example, NASCAR has a much smaller audience than the NBA does, okay? And yet NASCAR is a very financially lucrative enterprise. Why? Because even though it's a smaller sport markedly than the NBA, the people that are involved in NASCAR are very engaged, meaning that It costs me less to place an ad in the Daytona 500 than it does in the NBA Finals. But the level of engagement that I'm going to get out of that ad in the Daytona 500 is high enough that I'm probably going to go to the smaller audience if I want true... If I don't want just screaming my product name in a crowded theater, but I have a call to action. I want people to buy it, purchase my service, take part in my cause. Our show operates this way, by the way. We're probably, what did I say we were last hour when I looked on iTunes?
16th or
17th. So we're, us and Whitlock, according to iTunes, are about the same. Allie's a little bit ahead. Glenn's obviously way ahead. Levin's obviously way ahead. And then it would be like us. Then it would be like Allie and then Whitlock and us and Whitlock, depending on, because these change like every 15 minutes. They're being updated constantly. The level of engagement, though, that we get in our audience, even though we're maybe the 4th or 5th most watched show on this network, the level of engagement, meaning that you overperform, you guys in our audience, you overperform our audience size. That's why we're constantly sold out of ads here on the show. We're having to add inventory because we have so many businesses that want to be on this show because you guys overperform. You guys really, last hour we talked to one of my best friends. He needed $50,000 to file a lawsuit. That thing was funded in like 90 minutes. And yeah, I gave like the first 10% of the cause, but the other 90% got funded like in an hour and a half, guys. You guys deliver. Without any help from linear cable at all, I've had 2 best-selling books. You guys deliver. You show up. And so we could never generate the amount of views that anything close to what Tucker and Trump did. But our level of engagement is high. So I went and looked at the engagements for the Tucker-Trump interview. I looked at the engagements. Through Thursday, first 250 million views. Here's what I found. Just 0.08% of those views actually retweeted the video. This is going to sound like a COVID thing, where the numbers we're giving are out here are way high, the top line, but when you look at the actual data, they're like, what are we doing here? Okay. 0.8% of the views retweeted the video. 0.007% of the views quote retweeted it, meaning that they sent their own analysis or caption or call to action comment on the video. Just 0.007% of those views quote retweeted the video. Just 0.3% of the views even liked the video. Just 0.03% of the views bookmarked the video, meaning they wanted to keep a record of it, go back, watch it again, save it. Let me repeat those numbers again. Just 0.8% of the views retweeted the video. Just 0.007% of the views quote retweeted the video. Just 0.3% of the views have liked the video. Just 0.03% of the views bookmarked the video. Those engagements are awful. Awful. That's dreadful. There are Twitter eggs that don't even have avatars and no blue check marks who will get higher engagements percentage-wise than that. That's really bad. Really bad. So when you factor in, if someone sees your video for 2 seconds in their feed, it's counted as a full view, and this was a 45-minute interview, and you factor in the anemic engagement level of that video, how impactful was this, truly, on breaking the monotony and the control of legacy media? Thoughts?
Oh, I don't really think at all. As it applies to Tucker, how many of us, I don't regularly get a chance to sit down to watch Tucker. Steve, I know you don't. But we often knew what Tucker said. Why? Because we'd see him on Twitter saying something that
I'd watch his monologue almost every morning because I saw it on Twitter.
It's on Twitter.
Yep.
And oftentimes it went viral for specific reasons. What happened here? There was nothing to go viral. There was no moment. There was nothing that had to be seen. See, that to me, that's the issue with all this. And I go all the way back.
So in the end, you're tying this back to the content.
Yeah,
because
yes,
the content
yes.
was so shallow,
Yes.
so was the engagement, in other
and
words.
basically, you heard, you asked the person, did you happen to see what Tucker said? Or that you saw Twitter and somebody already said there was a nothing burger. Nothing was there. So you didn't go watch it. I was constantly, when I was at the Des Moines Register, when we, at the end, were about bells and clicks and whistles and metrics and all that stuff. And I said, you guys realize none of this is going to matter as long as you keep having a product that's not worth reading. You are utterly predictable. Everybody knows what you're going to say. There's no great conversation going on. People actually resent the news that you're putting in there. We all agree, Steve, that whether it's like legacy media of whatever kind, certainly print journalism, was going to have to make some changes no matter what, right? Because of the introduction of technology. Was its destiny so set in stone? If you had real newspapers doing real news, don't you think they would have had a better shot, Steve? I'm certain they would have had a better shot at surviving. The same applies to this. What happens going forward with new media depends a lot and always has on what old media wants to be. And new media, quite frankly, is going to have the same kind of problems that we have with all the streaming services to watch movies and TV shows. It gets annoying after a while. You can only have so many. Those 5 on the top 5, good. It gets harder and harder, and we know this from experience. So it all comes back to quality content. And this was largely a nothing burger, not because of a failure of technology, because for the first time in a very, very long time,
Tucker himself failed to launch.
Yes.
Yeah. Aaron, that's a great point. That's a great point. Aaron, what say you?
The reason, just to reset this again, the reason why when Tucker Carlson was on Fox News, most of his monologues went viral, it's because he was stepping on like a bug. He was stepping on every shibboleth, every third rail, every narrative that was supposed to be unquestioned. And people eat that up. Regardless, I mean, across the political spectrum, whether you like it or hate it, if he's stepping on your shibboleth, people care. But there's been none of that. And especially not with the Donald Trump interview. There were no shibboleths that were stepped on. In fact, as you said earlier, Donald Trump said, yeah, Jeffrey Epstein probably killed himself. That's just, it's out of character for Tucker Carlson, is what I would say. At least the Tucker Carlson we've grown accustomed to.
Yes.
And I don't know, outside of the first few shows that he's done, there have been several episodes where it's like, Andrew Tate, I don't care. I know who Andrew Tate is.
Yeah, I didn't watch it.
He's the Genghis Khan school of masculinity.
Right.
I don't care. There was somebody, there's been several episodes where it's just like, I don't know. What are we doing here? I don't really care that much about this. And that's a problem for Carlson. If his game here is, with Donald Trump especially, I just want kind of the MAGA crowd as my built-in audience. If you don't still, though, give compelling content, if you don't stay on brand as the fearless questioner of narratives, that's going to be a problem. That's going to be a problem long run.
Maybe it won't be. Maybe he's a big enough star that he can do that. And that's why I was concerned about this coming out of the Leadership Summit. Is I can't stand Fox. I detest it. I've made that pretty clear for as long as all of you guys have known me, have I not?
Yes.
I mean, I made this clear when I was a local show. I couldn't stand Fox then, okay? I don't need a gatekeeper. I have one. It's called the Word of God. Everybody else, get the hell out of the way. Get the literal hell out of the way, literally. Get thee behind me, Satan, all right? But is it possible that whatever guardrails Fox had in place was a check and balance on there was no option for Tucker to go off and do these kinds of things. And so therefore, that incentivized him to question narratives and push back rather than join with a narrative and push those. Because, I mean, I don't care about the Tates. I will tell you the amount of conservative women, including our own Allie Stuckey, who pushed back on the slurp fest of the Tate brothers at the same time.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't think the Tucker we saw on Fox for 5 years gets Donald Trump one-on-one and never once asks him about the jab. Never once asked him about lockdowns.
I know.
I don't think the Tucker we got on Fox for 5 years just, travels across the world to do a 35, 55-minute infomercial with a pornographer. I just don't. Whether he's being falsely accused or imprisoned or not, I just don't believe that. I think that's the kind of stuff Fox would have, particularly on the Tate stuff, would have lost its mind over. And now I just wonder, what's the plumb line? Is the plumb line ego? So I'm going to do the stuff that Fox wouldn't let me to do anymore? Or am I going to do the truth? We're finding that out. And so far, I don't know that the answers have been all that encouraging. And let's pray that this is just a phase and we get back on the narrow road. John 3:17.